This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, non-stop Leafs talk starts now.
What's happening, everybody? It's the Wednesday edition here of Leafs Morning Take at the Golden Muzzy, where you can find me, Nick Alberga, on Twitter, and of course, Jay Rosehill, my astute co-host, presented by PointsBet Canada and Montana's. We're looking forward big time to today's edition. What's up, Rosie?
Not much, dude. Yeah, excited for a game here right now. Would like a win after the Lightning have pretty much caught us in the standings with a game in hand. So points are at a paramount right now.
They are. So our feature presentation, big time guests on today's show. We were lucky enough to sit down with one Matthew Knies of University of Minnesota and the Golden Gophers yesterday, and we're going to play that in its entirety today. What was your one takeaway from that interview, Rosie? His great hair?
Yeah, sick hair, big, strong-looking kid, speaks well, confident, but got his head on his shoulders, man. I'm a fan of him. I got to admit, I didn't know a whole lot about him personally beforehand, but solid interview, and it'd be interesting to see if we still have him after the trade deadline here. I hope if we get rid of him, we get a lot in return.
Yeah, that's the big time question and conundrum, right? Kyle Dubas has come out over the last little while and said, I'm not trading this guy for a rental or a first round pick. So it's obviously got to come in a blockbuster type deal. Maybe it's a Meyer, maybe it's a Chikrin, but the way he's trending upwards in this stock, man, it's probably better off to hold on to Matthew Knies because he's the most talked about player in college hockey right now. And sounds like he could be actually the front runner as we have this conversation for the Hobey Baker Award for the top player in the country in college hockey. So make sure to keep it locked 10 minutes away from that interview. Remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest in all things Toronto Maple Leafs. By the way, Nick Barden, of the Leafs Nation will have a nice little intricate article up in about 20 minutes after this interview featuring some of the stuff that we spoke about with Matthew Knies, so make sure to check that out. Also, we're in the process, you see on your screen, migrating over to our very own YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe and like at the Leafs Nation 401, at the Leafs Nation 401, where you can tune in for great content on a daily basis. I know I'm biased, but a lot of our interviews are up there, our clips. We got some shorts on there. We got everything cooking on that YouTube channel right now, Rosie.
Yeah, for sure. It's been fun, man, putting some of those clips on, and sooner than later here at some point in time, we'll be live from there. And it's just kind of the whole home base for everything that we do around here, which is a nice place to have.
Thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions, drop us a line in the chat down below here on YouTube, and we'll get to those in about 25 or so. And we can get your thoughts as well on the Matthew Knies interview, which once again coming up in about 10 minutes or so. For now, we're going to get it over the boards. All right, Rosie. So another trap game. Here we go. Our favorite two words for this Leafs season. It's Chicago. It's Toronto. We were talking off air. The betting numbers over a PointsBet and any betting platform for that matter are just outrageous. Like the Leafs are like minus 520. I think we last looked favorites in this game, but it's the first of two in 5 days with the Hawks. What's your read on this one?
Yeah. Maybe the Leafs are looking at the lines before the game, and that's what makes them so complacent and think that it's an automatic win. Because if you got to bet $525 to win 100 on an NHL game, I just don't see the value in that by any stretch. And I think it's just because of the market that Toronto's in and the amount of people that are betting. Vegas protects itself. It's just like when Tiger Woods is in a tournament and he has hardly any chance to win because he hasn't played in a year, but he's like the favorite in the lines and the spreads and whatnot. And it's like, well, that's ridiculous. But I think Vegas is just protecting themselves from how many people bet on it. That's all I can think of, because this is a game that the Leafs should win, no doubt about it. But as we know, you cannot take a night off or you're going to get bitten. So I hope they've learned their goddamn lesson after how many falls they've taken to these bottom of the barrel teams. And hopefully it's not tonight, man. I'm hoping that they have left that behind them, but I keep saying that and you keep laughing at me.
I do, and I'll continue to keep laughing at you. Although I will say I found a way to combat the poor games against the bad teams. His name is Austin Matthews. That's the most encouraging news out of today and the morning skate. Austin Matthews, he'll return. Remember the doom and gloom when they announced the injury, minimum of 3 weeks? Well, we're smack dab on 3 weeks. I believe it's 3 weeks today that he got injured or banged up against the New York Rangers. missed a total of 5 games. They knew exactly what they were doing. I think this is perfect. Time off for Austin Matthews, healed up, good to go. He'll be in the lineup. They were 2-3-0 in 5 games without him, Rosie.
Yeah, I think he just needed to rest some nagging injuries and whatnot, whether it was a knee or a wrist or whatever. I imagine they just said, well, at what point in time can we get this guy to get some rehab and get some treatment and get some rest where we don't kind of give away half our season? And that big break of the All-Star break and the time they had off afterwards, and then the opponents they were facing in the meantime were making it look like that was the perfect time to do so, and they went ahead and took advantage. And hopefully he's feeling good and ready to rock for the rest of the season, and he's back tonight, and hopefully he shows that he's a new man.
If that doesn't boost this team, I've run out of ideas to get them going in games against inferior opponents, right? They're coming off that ugly game on Saturday against Columbus. They were in the driver's seat. They were up 2-0 after 1, and then it all came unglued in the second period, and it led to the comments post-game by Sheldon Keefe regarding work ethic and effort level, which is scary to hear this time of year, but it's not the first time with this team over the last X amount of years. But you would have to think you got to be boosted and pumped to get Matthews back in the lineup if you're a player on that team, right?
Well, I would think so. And I mean, I know the Chicago Blackhawks aren't in a great position right now, but you're still playing the likes of Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane. And, they've got a handful of Stanley Cups in the last 10, 12, whatever years. And, they come into town, and all of a sudden it's like, we need a win here. I don't care where they are in the standings. I think they'd learn their lesson. Again, I'm saying this again. You'd learn their lesson not to take this game lightly and to give them everything they got. And they got their main man back in the lineup. So I expect a big win. I'm not going to fade them. And I think they're going to come out and do what they're supposed to do tonight.
So Rosie's going to lay that price tag. I think the money line's at like minus 620. It's absolutely outrageous now. Like just we'll get to the Points Bet Canada bet of the day coming up, but it's you almost have to fade Toronto, which is crazy. But nonetheless, the Hawks are on the back-to-back. They played last night. They got shit pumped by the Montreal Canadiens out of all teams in a Connor Bedard derby, a game I'm sure Chicago did want to win it all, and they got the right result in that game, 4-0. So we'll see what happens tonight. But the big news too with the lineup. So Austin Matthews confirmed back. How about this? Justin Holl riding pine, eating popcorn press box for the first time this season. Just led me to the question, why now, Rosie? Why is this the game that they single-handed and picked out and said, Justin Holl is going to be a health bomb tonight?
Yeah, man. I mean, after the season that we've talked about him many times, and he just seemed like he was absolutely stapled to the lineup sheet. There was no chance he was coming out. It didn't even seem like it was a thought. They were never going to try to send him a message or do anything, and they have been extremely patient. And I actually think that as the season went on, he actually got better and better, and the mistakes were less and less detrimental to the game and to the team. And he was doing all right there with Gio. And then some about that game, man. Keefe just didn't like it. He said, well, then don't force my hand and don't put me in this situation to scratch you and show me something, basically. And, don't screw around or you're going to be in the presser. This time of year, there's no messing around, apparently. And he's going to watch a game up top. I think it's kind of a message sending type of thing. But for all the games that this team has seen and players and things that have happened, you'd think Justin Holl would have to sit down a couple of times throughout especially early on in the season. It hasn't happened. And for whatever reason, Keefe is sending a message, but I can't say he's my favorite defenseman on the team. And the fact that we're pretty deep with defensemen and we've had injuries and guys step up and guys be deserving of more ice time and being in the lineup. I'm surprised it hasn't happened before, but maybe it'll be good for him to watch a game from up top and come back with some reinvigoration.
In my wildest dreams, Rosie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could never have forecasted a future where it's Justin Holl being a healthy scratch before Pierre Engvall. I think it just shows you how the spectrum works for this Maple Leafs team and how they feel about certain players. But nonetheless, here we are. Engvall could have sat a couple games. If he did, I don't remember. It just seems to not as matter much when this guy struggles or has a rough game. He's right back out there. They love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it that Pierre Engvall is the guy who's really, really well liked, and so is Justin Holl. I was just really, really curious. We're a couple weeks away from the deadline, and this is the game. This is the one they choose and say, you know what, enough is enough. You were -3 on Saturday against Chicago, Justin. You're sitting. So I ask you this question: is Holl in your ideal 6 on the back end for Game 1 against Tampa?
Oh, I mean, you've already set that precedent, man. You've ridden with him and you
Yeah.
haven't sat him down and you have given him all the leeway you could possibly give him, and you have tried to instill confidence in him and give him all the experience that he can get. So, I mean, they've already set that precedent that they're riding with Holl. I mean, if they could package him up in some kind of a deal and have him gone, I wouldn't be crying. I don't think he's a game changer by any stretch. I would like the holes that he has in his game to start being filled, because it does seem like when he makes a mistake, it is in the back of his net every time, and it's usually a scrambly, panicky, get rid of the puck type of mistake. Which I'm not saying that's hard to do in the NHL. It's very
Yeah.
fast and it's very tough, but I mean, standards are high for a team like that, and I just would prefer if we had a guy that was a little bit more reliable. And as I said, he's been getting better throughout the season and hasn't had those big game losing moments on his stick where you're just screaming at the TV because he's pretty much lost you the game in the final few minutes. But nonetheless, I think they've set a precedent with riding with Holl this year.
And again, make sure to check out our new YouTube page at the Leafs Nation 401. We interviewed Darren Dreger of TSN yesterday, and we went over some potential trade options up front, certainly, and on the back end when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've been linked to Gavrikov, to an extent, Jacob Chychrun. So without question, it's going to be a fascinating next 3 weeks leading into the March 3rd trade deadline. It's on a Friday for, the first time, since I can remember, 3 Eastern time on Friday, March 3rd. So it's going to be pandemonium, and looking forward to see what happens. And now the rumors are starting to come out about Patrick Kane a bit. So it's just make sure you don't believe everything you read, and make sure you watch out for those fake tweets as well. But nevertheless, Montana's is bringing back the viewing party with daily deals in 2023. It is Wednesday, which means all you can eat ribs. It's a personal favorite of Rosie and mine. And this is how you can win a $100 gift card, by the way, this week. We're giving away a $100 gift card to Montana's on Friday. Again, you have to be following as well our new YouTube page at the Leafs Nation 401. Like the post, follow at Montana's BBQ and TLNDC on social. Then tag those same accounts with a photo of you and your crew at Montana's enjoying some eats, and that's how you can qualify for your chance to win a $100 gift card. Yes, $100 gift card, courtesy our friends over at Montana's. I am fired up for Friday. I can't wait to see who wins, Rosie.
Yeah, that'll be good, man. I mean, with that kind of value and that kind of a card, you can go do that more than once and get all you can eat ribs or $5 tacos or half price wings or whatever they're giving out. You're going to do it, fill yourself up, and still have a bunch left on your card to go do it again the next week. So pretty wicked deal. Who's going to sniff at that? That's perfect.
Exactly. Okay, let's get to today's interview. Again, yesterday we had a chance to catch up with Matthew Knies. Enjoy it. All right, we're so happy to be joined by an absolute stud. Look at his flow. Second rounder 2021 from the University of Minnesota. It's none other than Matthew Knies.
How are you guys?
Not too bad. So take us behind the scenes. It's been a busy last couple months in your hockey career. What's it like to be the talk of the town in college puck right now?
It's pretty fun. Obviously we have an incredible team. Been number one for a while now in pairwise, and it's been a good season so far. It's exciting.
What's it like to be in the Hobey Baker conversation? What would that mean to you?
I mean, that's a tremendous honor. Obviously, you see the guys that would come before, all have, super careers in the NHL. So, to be nominated is an honor. Alongside the two guys on our team, it's tremendous that, I could put my name on that kind of list. And so I'm keeping my hopes high, but, I think it's definitely a tremendous honor.
Knies, you growing up in Phoenix, not exactly a hockey hotbed, but, wanted to pick your brain on how you picked up the game of hockey. Obviously you got that connection with Austin Matthews, both being, members of the Maple Leafs organization. Tell us a little bit about how you got into hockey in such a big way from a place like Phoenix.
Yeah, my dad actually grew up playing like street hockey in Slovakia. So he was like around the sport a lot. He knew it pretty well. He watched it as a kid, so he really fell in love with it too. And then my older brother, who's 4 years older than me now, he picked it up really quick at a very young age in Arizona, and just started skating. And I kind of just wanted to follow his footsteps, so I was quickly behind him. And then we would go to Coyotes games when we were kids. Back when they were in the playoffs and the conference final. I think it was like 2012 or 2011 when they were playing Detroit. Those are the kind of games that my family went to, and it was so exciting to be a part of that. And that's kind of where I fell in love with the sport, and I took it a little more serious. And I know my brother did as well. So, I kind of shot from there.
Cool. What I'm sure your focus right now is on winning a national championship and everything you're doing right now with this year of college hockey, that you went back to try to, finish some unfinished business and do everything there. But has any of your thoughts kind of wandered towards maybe later on this year playing your first NHL game and what that might be like, what that might entail?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously in the back of my head. It's always going to kind of be there. You dream about it as a kid to play in the NHL, to play at that level. But yeah, like I have to kind of focus on just being here. I got to focus on one team at a time, and just focusing on winning, being the best player I can, being as effective as I can here. And when that kind of time comes to make that decision, that's kind of when I maybe able to put those thoughts in my head and kind of really think about how that could be reality for me. And so I kind of just have it in the back of my head, but it's I'm not going to let it eat away at me and kind of affect the way I'm playing here.
I was going to ask you too about turning pro. Like, what's your feel in your game right now? Obviously, you've accomplished like so much in the last year. Like, it's really crazy what you've done. Do you feel like you're ready to turn pro here?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough question. I don't know if anyone was ever, as ready as like Cale Makar was. Everyone's gonna. It's a transition. It's definitely a big step. So, I'm confident that I've can be at this level, be impactful player at this level. Learn to dominate and then kind of move on. So I think I think I'm there. I think there's parts of my game that I wanted to work on this year when it was coming back, that I needed to, kind of mature, go and grow into a leadership role as well. So there's things that I needed to grow in this kind of year. That's the whole tale of why I needed one more year to come back. So I've definitely made those adjustments. I definitely got better as a player and person off the ice as well. So I think I'm definitely closer to making that step. I'm not really sure again what that decision is going to be until that kind of time comes up where I'm kind of have to sit down and say yes or no. But for now, I think I'm confident that I could be an effective player at the pro level. I just I have to focus on myself here and just one team at a time.
How supportive has Leafs brass been with you over the last year? Obviously, in pondering your decision last year, and obviously moving forward this year, they've been really, really supportive of you.
Yeah, for sure. They've been wonderful to have on my side. Honestly, they've been wonderful with giving me space on my decision. Not trying to bug me too much in my ear and kind of tell me what to do at that time. And so I think they've been huge. Obviously during the season they've come up and they helped with nutrition. They've helped with off ice work, drills on the ice. Kind of just little things that they can help around with, and just not too much where it gets overwhelming. So that's what's really nice about it. I think they have a really good balance of communication with me. So that's been wonderful. And I think they've been extremely supportive of my step coming back as well to the U. I think that they were happy that I could, come up with a decision and feel that, I need those steps to mature and, little steps in my game that I need to take. So, they've been wonderful so far. And I think once, kind of this season slowly comes to an end, I think that, those kind of talks can ramp up again and, we can discuss, further like the future for sure.
Matthew, in your short career already, you're just getting started in a lot of ways, but you've already been to an Olympics, which, at your age, that's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. You've already checked that off the list. Tell us, a little bit about that. Were you able to hang out in the Olympic Village and kind of rub shoulders with the other athletes and get the whole experience, or what was that like for you?
I mean, it was pretty memorable, honestly. It was it was unbelievable from start to finish, from the opening ceremonies to playing our first game, to playing against Team Canada with guys like Eric Stahl, who's played I think 1,400 games in the NHL now. Play alongside guys with NHL pro experience, some of the best college athletes as well. Get to meet guys like Sean White. That whole experience in total was unbelievable. But to get to hang out around the Olympic Village with the guys on our team, the guys like Justin Applicator, who's had that experience in all kind of in all hockey worlds, the World Championships, from the Stanley Cup Finals. I think he was awesome to just kind of sit down to and just chat, just kind of pick his brain. Having that kind of insight on the NHL world was awesome for us young guys that were there as college athletes. And then just to play in that kind of atmosphere where so much is on the line, it was tremendous. It was a big learning experience for me. So I'm very thankful and grateful I got to be a part of that.
Hey, spill the tea. Olympic Village, yes or no? Was it as legendary as people say it is?
I mean, it was a pretty nice setup. Like we each country got like almost like their own tower or like apartment tower. So it was funny. Like at the end of it, we were all partying with like the Germans and stuff when ours got ended. But the food, it might have been one of the worst meals I've ever had in a month. Like it was not good for meals. Like it was truly brutal. Like there's just no eggs in the morning. I'd have like cookies and apple slices for breakfast. I remember like before the Team Canada game, there was like nothing to eat. So I had cereal, but I didn't want to have milk because I thought it'd be like too full. So I had cereal with water before the games to get me full, which was crazy. That I think all the athletes were kind of complaining, but then again, you're at the Olympics and I couldn't really do much, but it was kind of a crazy spot.
Hey, Rosie can speak to this. The National League, a bit different in terms of spread, right, Rosie?
The never hungry league, man. My during the father's trips and stuff like that, the number one comment from the dads is just like, there is fucking food everywhere, man. I mean, you want a filet mignon for a pregame meal, there's a whole dish full of them. It's whatever you want, and the owner's taking you out for Wagyu beef and stuff like that. You're not going to have that problem in the big league there, Kniesy.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
How often are you checking out the Leafs games? And is there anyone in that roster that you would just love to play with, or you see yourself accommodating in terms of like a good fit with chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, I watch a good amount of their games. Usually that's the game that's on. When you click the TV, it's the first game that's on. And so yeah, I've watched a few of their games. I got to see, I've got to see the lineup pretty well here, and but I can't really tell you what I'd fit in well. I kind of have to would step in there and kind of dip my toe a little bit and get to see what it's really like there, and then I could give you a better answer for who I would accommodate. But playing with their top guys, obviously a guy like Austin Matthews, who I've looked up to. He's been a huge influence on me. To get to honestly just share the ice with him would be unreal. So I think, I don't really know what the answer would be to accommodate. I just want to kind of step in there and be a player for them, be someone that, can contribute. So I can't really give you an answer for that question.
That's fair. That's fair. So you rock the number 89. We know Nick Robertson wears that number. Is that number partial to you? Why do you wear it? Is there something other number you've worn in your career too?
I wore 89 because Mikkel Bodker, back on the Yotes team in that playoff series. So that's kind of where I fell in love with him.
That's sick.
When I grew up playing for the Junior Coyotes, I know Shane Doan, his son, wore 19. So I was like, I might as well wear 89 and we'll look like the same. And I kind of just stuck with it. I loved it. I actually got to meet him at the Olympics. I walked by him. I was honestly shocked. I didn't even say hi. I walked by him and I was a little in shock, but I wore that. Yeah. And I wore 19 in junior hockey for Shane. Obviously he was a big influence, so I kind of wanted to represent him a little bit. So I know that Nick wears it, so I'm not really sure what's in store for me. So I'm going to have to think about it. Maybe talk to my brother, Phil. He's always got some good trends going. He switches his number almost every year.
Oh, really? Because a lot of guys are like superstitious, right? Like they'll rock the same number for their entire career. And then there's some guys who are just flipping it up all the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what it goes behind it. Some have deeper meanings, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I never really found a number that was a lucky number to me. So I kind of just try to pick a cool number and go with it.
All right. So Kniesy, sources tell me one of your favorite players growing up was Zdeno Chara. I did some digging on you. I had to, we have some common friends. So Big Z, sources tell me you still have a fat head of Big Z in your room. I don't know if it's at school or back home. Just explain your love for Big Z and what he meant to your career so far.
Yeah, that is true. There was a huge fat head in my room. I remember it was like one Christmas, me and my brother each got fat heads. My brother got Phillip Rivers because he was a huge Chargers fan for the unknown reason. And I just loved Chara. I loved how he was like the biggest guy on the ice. as a kid. And I also love that he was Slovakian, like my parents. Like he had the same background, so I thought that was really cool. And from then I kind of just fell in love with it. Like I just loved how he was always the guy that everyone was afraid of, didn't want to play with. I think he was, some of the guys that would say that he's the toughest guy to go in the corner with, and that's the kind of thing I love. Like I thought he was just a fun player to watch, how tough he was, and how everyone was a little aware of him when he was on the ice. So that's kind of where I fell in love with him. But obviously a huge influence. Like I looked up to him as well. He was someone I loved to watch growing up.
Nice. After making your decision to go back to college this year and seeing how much success the Gophers are having, if you guys were to get that national championship this year, would that kind of solidify your decision in your head? Something you could always say to yourself, you know what, I can hang my hat on that forever, and I know I made the right decision. Is that kind of what you're going for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want it to change the decision of whether I choose to make the step or not. Obviously, that's number one on my list right now, is to get there and to win that. And I don't really know what it feels like to be at that moment to decide. Well, like I've achieved enough, and that next year it's I'm almost trending downhill a little bit. I've achieved the most I can at this level, but I don't really want that to tie into the decision of whether to stay or come or to make the jump.
Last question. What is that behind you, man? I've been wondering that the whole interview, the background. What is, okay. I was like,
yeah,
what?
So this is our film room here.
I was like, what is happening right now? It's just like a big ass head.
Yeah, I think it's a regular season that they won way back. Actually, this is a pretty long time ago. So
only quiet place you could find in the building, hey?
Honestly, yeah, it's pretty rowdy out here. We had we had a big sewer game going on in the middle of our locker room, so I had to get out of there in a hurry.
No worries, man. I know you're so busy. Really, really appreciate the time today, and best of luck moving forward. We hope to see you in Toronto in the springtime. If we do, give me a shout. Let you know where to go. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Knies. Good luck,
you guys.
And folks, I will be holding Matthew Knies to that. Once again, so thankful and appreciative of him making some time. I know he's busy over at school. That was a blast, Rosie.
Totally, man. I've become a big Kniesy fan after that. He speaks well, which tells me he thinks well. He's grounded. He's got a head on his shoulders, but he's a confident, capable kid and a big horse too. I like the size on him. I like the way he plays. He's like a power forward type player where he's using his lower body and he's knocking guys off and he's not allowing anyone to steal that puck. He's smart and he's got big time skill too. I'm a big fan of this kid right now.
Yeah, that's just stood out to me too. Just his professionalism, how gathered, composed he is. Like you need that at the National Hockey League level, and that's why he's already one of the best players collegiately on the planet right now because of the way he is and how chill he is. And that's the one thing that stood out for me. So looking forward over the next couple months to see what happens once that season is complete. Does Matthew Knies sign a contract with the Maple Leafs, and does he make an impact right away? But for now, the wrap-up is brought to you by our friends over at PointBet Canada. So I think for the first time of the season, I could be incorrect. You just nailed your pick yesterday. You had Sidney Crosby over 1.5, the revenge tour following the game ejection, and the Pens took care of business against San Jose. So you're back on tonight. What do you have for me, bud?
Yeah, don't forget about the Super Bowl bets. Dinged that one too. True. And yeah, yesterday went out pretty good. It's not like Whitney's bet I see on his thing throws 10 grand at the Penguins last night. Jesus. But hope no one's throwing that much on my advice. But tonight I got John Tavares over 0.5 assists. I think he's going to get an apple on the board. I think it's an easy one against this team. And I think you're going to get it some places at about minus 110, which for how capable that guy is of getting a point and assist on the board and how good he can dish with Willie Nylander going off these days, I think it's a great bet. So we'll see tomorrow if I can keep this train rolling.
I like the value, and again, the price just skyrocketing. So I think if you want to play this game, you have to look at some props and not so much the totals or picking a side because it's just outrageous. Toronto's like minus 620 favorites to win on the money line, even minus 200 to win puck line. Like you're almost tempted to take them like minus 3.5 at this point. But I just knowing what we know about this team, Rosie, I'm just staying away from that element of betting because they've had some very disappointing losses this season to some eyes.
Oh, there's no value in betting any of that for the Maple Leafs fans, but you go a little deeper into the tabs there and you get on the player props. You can get shot props, point props. Who do you think's going to score tonight? There's always good things in that. So obviously stay away from that board. I think Vegas is just protecting themselves, but lots of other bets to be had. I would stay away from the minus 611 bets though. Jeez.
Yeah, that's just ugly. Lastly, just a quick thought on today's show. Matthew Knies, and obviously looking forward to the Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. Again, the first of 2 meetings in 5 days between these two teams. Toronto will be at the UC on Sunday.
Yeah, you bet. It's a good one. It feels like we haven't played in a long time, and we get going again against a team we haven't really seen too much of at all. So hopefully the Maple Leafs bring their A game, and we'll get to see Austin Matthews back in action. So an exciting night here.
Just looking at the chat as well, Alex writing in, make sure he doesn't wear the number 67 like he did in the Olympics. That goes without saying, of course. Adam, because I posed the question in the chat, should they hold? Should they trade him? Adam writes, I hope they hold. Too unique, and I think there's other options that can boost them at a lower cost. Trade everything else, not this kid. I tend to agree. Good friend of the show, Tim, writes in, had it lucky last night. Hit a 3-game parlay. Attaboy, Timmy. You've been on fire with your bets all season long. He would like Knies to will join. He thinks Knies, will join this team for the stretch run and the playoffs after the Frozen Four. That is the consensus. Alex also writes in, let's fucking go Knies, LFG. Love to see that. With you on that front. And Toronto Maple Leafs are the best. Great name. I hope we keep him. He's a stud. So in summary, a lot of people are behind our thoughts on keeping Matthew Knies, throwing him in there at some point in time, assuming he signs, and that's the big assumption. But again, his professionalism, he wasn't going to tip much in that department.
Yeah, and you got to understand that he's playing for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They're on a run right now, 1-2 in the whole country. They got a job at hand, and all of a sudden their number one player starts talking about leaving the team to go pursue bigger things. That's just not going to happen with a player that caliber. They've been coached and they're too smart. He's not going to say that kind of thing. But I mean, I think the very real possibility is he comes off of college after the Frozen Four, win or loss in their national championship, endeavors, and he steps onto the Maple Leafs roster. And why can't he make a big impact right off the bat? I mean, a lot stranger things have happened and people aren't really taken into effect. Like, you don't have to give anything away for that potential. Maybe he doesn't, but maybe he does. And I mean, with the caliber of player he is, there's no reason to think he can't, even fill in the second, third line and be a big time producer and be one of those. He's not a depth guy for a long time, but for the first handful of games in his career, when leading into the Stanley Cup playoffs, you play on that third line and fill a major hole and be able to contribute. I think it would be unbelievable.
I'm with you on that front. Meantime, looking forward to 3 hits with Rosie tonight. Following tonight's game, you won't be with us tomorrow, so I'm flying solo. Should I mention as well, we'll happy to be joined by Nick Richard of the Leafs Nation for a look at the prospects for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll talk about Matthew Knies and others. And I thought it was an important show to have as we lead into the deadline. Certainly, you would think the Maple Leafs might trade a couple of those prospects to get better in the now. So Nick Richard is coming up tomorrow, and your 3 hits is coming up as well. And looking forward to it, Rosie.
Yeah, that'll be good. I think it's a good time to check out your prospects. Again, I didn't know a ton about Matthew Knies, and now all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want them to unload this guy. I think he could be a major, major puzzle piece for this organization for years down the road. And if you flip him for some rental or even like a Patty Kane, where does he fit? Who does he bump off? Who does he piss off? Like, he's not going to play on anything but the top couple lines, and he's going to be bumping someone down. You're going to disrupt that locker room. I don't like that play. I like holding on to this Knies guy and thinking a little bit about the future. I know we're making a run this year, and it's kind of do or die this year in a lot of different ways, but hold on to that kid. See if he can make a difference. Don't unload him for a rental that may not even make your team better.
Okay, many thanks again to Matthew Knies and to my astute co-host himself, Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. You've been listening and watching Leafs Morning Take. Talk tomorrow.